The inference to God is not an argument from ignorance, a rational and evidence-based conclusion. A common objection raised by atheists against belief in God is that it is an argument from ignorance, a logical fallacy that occurs when someone claims something must be true simply because we don't yet have an explanation for it. This criticism suggests that belief in God is based on lack of understanding, or that it is a God of the gaps argument, where God is invoked to fill in the gaps in our knowledge. However, this objection misrepresents the nature of theistic reasoning and the philosophical and scientific arguments for God's existence. The inference to God is not based on ignorance or the absence of knowledge. Rather, it is a rational conclusion drawn from data, observations, logic, reasoning, and abductive inference, a method commonly used in science and philosophy to arrive at the best explanation for the evidence. Here, I will explain why the inference to God is not an argument from ignorance and show how it is based on a careful examination of the available evidence and the application of reasoned judgment. 1. What is an argument from ignorance? An argument from ignorance, or argumentum ad ignorantiam, is a fallacy that occurs when someone claims that something must be true, or false, simply because there is no evidence to prove otherwise. For example, fallacy: we can't prove abiogenesis did not happen, therefore abiogenesis did happen. Fallacy: we can't prove aliens don't exist, therefore aliens must exist. In such cases, the conclusion is based not on positive evidence or reasoning, but on the absence of knowledge. In other words, the argument assumes that because there is no current explanation for a phenomenon, one must invoke a particular cause, whether it is God, aliens, or something else. However, the inference to God does not follow this pattern. Theistic arguments for God's existence do not rely on gaps in scientific knowledge but are based on positive evidence, logical analysis, and philosophical reasoning that point toward a transcendent cause. 2. The inference to God is based on data, observations, and reasoning. Theistic arguments that infer the existence of God are not appeals to ignorance. Instead, they are based on data and observations from the natural world, philosophical reflection, and abductive reasoning, the same type of reasoning used in science to infer the best explanation for a set of facts. Here are several examples of theistic arguments that rely on positive evidence and logical reasoning, rather than ignorance. The cosmological argument: one of the most well-known arguments for the existence of God is the cosmological argument, particularly the Kalam cosmological argument. 1. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. 2. The universe began to exist. 3. Therefore, the universe has a cause. This argument is not based on ignorance but on the scientific evidence that the universe had a beginning, something supported by Big Bang cosmology and the second law of thermodynamics. The conclusion that the universe has a cause follows logically from these premises, and this cause must be outside time, space, and matter, which points to a transcendent, non-physical cause. This reasoning is based on observations and logic, not a gap in our knowledge. The fine-tuning argument. The fine-tuning of the universe is another powerful piece of evidence for the existence of God. This argument is based on the observation that the physical constants of the universe, such as the strength of gravity, the cosmological constant, and the charge of the electron, are finely tuned to an extraordinary degree to allow for the existence of life. If any of these constants were even slightly different, life would not be possible. The fine-tuning argument proceeds as follows. 1. The fine-tuning of the universe is either due to physical necessity, chance, or design. 2. It is not due to physical necessity, the constants could have been different. 3. It is extremely improbable that the fine-tuning is due to chance. 4. Therefore, the fine-tuning is best explained by design. This is not an argument from ignorance. Instead, it is an example of abductive reasoning, the process of inferring the best explanation for the observed data. Design is inferred because it provides the most plausible explanation for the precision of the constants, especially when chance and necessity are ruled out as inadequate explanations. The moral argument. Another theistic argument is the moral argument for the existence of God, which is based on the existence of objective moral values and duties. 1. If God does not exist, objective moral values and duties do not exist. 2. Objective moral values and duties do exist. 3. Therefore, God exists. The argument does not claim that God must exist because we don't know the source of morality. Rather, it points to the existence of objective moral truths, such as the belief that murder, cruelty, and injustice are wrong regardless of human opinion, and argues that the best explanation for these truths is a transcendent moral lawgiver. Without God, moral values would be merely subjective or the result of evolutionary processes, but we experience morality as objective and binding. This argument relies on moral experience and philosophical reasoning, not ignorance. It suggests that the existence of moral facts is best explained by a moral lawgiver, namely God. The argument from consciousness, the existence of consciousness, the ability to experience subjective thoughts, emotions, and awareness, also points to the existence of God. Materialist explanations struggle to account for how physical processes in the brain give rise to first-person experiences. The hard problem of consciousness remains unresolved by naturalistic explanations. The argument from consciousness proceeds as follows. 1. Consciousness exists and is a non-physical phenomenon. 2. Materialism cannot adequately explain consciousness. 3. Therefore, consciousness is best explained by a non-physical, transcendent cause, consistent with the existence of God. This is an inference to the best explanation based on the observed reality of consciousness and the inadequacy of materialist explanations. It is not based on ignorance but on the evidence that consciousness is not reducible to mere physical processes. 3. The role of abductive reasoning. Inference to the best explanation. Theistic arguments often employ abductive reasoning, also known as inference to the best explanation. This is a method commonly used in both science and philosophy, where we seek to explain a set of data by determining which hypothesis best accounts for the observations. For example, when scientists observe the bending of light around massive objects, they infer that Einstein's theory of general relativity is the best explanation for this phenomenon. They do not claim that it is true simply because we don't know any other explanation. They infer it because it offers the most plausible, consistent, and comprehensive explanation for the data. Similarly, the inference to God is based on the fact that theism offers the best explanation for several key features of reality: the origin of the universe and the existence of something rather than nothing, the fine-tuning of the universe for life, the existence of objective moral values, the nature of consciousness and human experience. These inferences are made not because we lack explanations, but because theism provides a better explanation than its competitors, such as atheism, materialism, or naturalism. The God hypothesis is not invoked to fill gaps but is based on positive evidence and logical reasoning that point to a transcendent cause. 4. Inference to God is based on data and logic, not ignorance. To summarize, the inference to God is not an argument from ignorance. It is based on a wide range of observations and data, from cosmology, physics, morality, consciousness, and more, and employs logical reasoning and abductive inference to arrive at the conclusion that God is the best explanation for these phenomena. The cosmological argument is based on the scientific evidence that the universe had a beginning and the philosophical reasoning that it must have a cause. The fine-tuning argument is based on the precise conditions necessary for life and the improbability of chance or necessity being sufficient explanations. The moral argument appeals to the existence of objective moral values and duties, which require a transcendent moral lawgiver. The argument from consciousness highlights the inadequacy of materialist explanations and points to a non-physical cause for subjective experience. In each of these cases, belief in God is based on positive evidence and logical analysis, not ignorance or a lack of understanding. The inference to God is rational, evidence-based, and philosophically sound, much like the inferences scientists make when drawing conclusions from data. Conclusion. A reasoned belief in God. The inference to God is not a God of the gaps argument, nor is it based on a lack of understanding. It is a rational conclusion drawn from observations, data, and logical reasoning, supported by the same kind of abductive inference that scientists use to explain natural phenomena. Far from being an argument from ignorance, theistic belief is grounded in a careful examination of the evidence and the application of reason to explain the features of reality that naturalism and materialism struggle to account for. In the end, belief in God is not only rational but is also the best explanation for the origin, order, and purpose of the universe and human existence. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and comment below if you agree or would like to add your thoughts. If you would like me to respond to your comment, please make a level 1 comment directly below the video. I will respond to all polite level 1 comments even if it takes me a while, due to other commitments.